Great audience, clapping before I've even said anything. Hi everyone, my name is Layla and I'm from the Bankstown Poetry Slam. The Bankstown Poetry Slam is Australia's largest regular running slam. It holds monthly slams and in the Bankstown Arts Centre, and basically we are very honoured to be here today. We have 4 poets, one is me, and we're going to be doing a little bit of poetry for everyone. So before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to any Aboriginal people here today. This land always was and always will be Aboriginal land, and as we stand here sharing our poetry and our stories, it is a reminder, not only to you guys, but also to myself, that poetry and stories were shared on this land by the First Nations people hundreds and thousands of years ago. So I'm a little bit sick, which is why I'm like, but before I begin actually sharing poetry, can I just see everyone's hands for a second? Just both hands. Just like, okay, wave them. Yay. Hello. Okay, no, wait, I didn't say put them down. Okay, wave them again. Okay, good. So basically, with those hands, can I see everyone click? Can I hear everyone go, I like that. Okay, so basically, in the etiquette of poetry, if you hear something you like, you click. Or you can go, Also, if you hear something you don't like, click as well. I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to start. We're very honoured to be here today. We have Roje, Alex, and Andrew, who are all really amazing, and me. And we're going to be performing, obviously, a little bit of poetry. We'll do about 10 to 15 minutes each. In between, feel free to click, feel free to take photos of us, and hashtag Bankstown Poetry Slam. Tag us on social media. Okay. This poem is kind of like an introduction poem. It's kind of still in the works, but I thought I'd share some new shit. We also do that as well. I thought I'd share something new just to like a little bit fresh, so I'm going to read it. I'm the daughter of warrior women who were laid to rest with tongues that were swollen with words that had never been said, and the words that could have been said. Within graves, each mouth was a skeleton valley, rotten with decayed memory. My foremothers only spoke their names. Their hands never gripped pens, though they were eager. Their palms were rough like Father Time, relentless and ceaseless and always ready. They bore revolution in their wombs and resistance in their minds like an old language they would never unlearn, though men around the world tried to beat it out of them. I am the descendant of women who cried themselves to sleep when their daughters were buried alive, and I am the descendant of women who would rather rip their own heart out than to see their daughters cry. I wake up every morning for them, for the women that came before me, who grew children amongst farmland because nurturing amongst nature came naturally, and actually I hear them whisper when I cry myself to sleep, like an old love song, whispering, all of us together are the same, in love. They tell me about courage and God above, and how they weaved it into their children's heartstrings by simply holding on, by loving, by learning, by breaking, by breathing. The sweetest moment I've had so far in my life is not entirely specific. It is every first breath I've had since my very first breath. I have not known a relief like the first taste of air I've had after holding my breath in for a little too long, aching lungs begging for oxygen like baby, begging for breast like drought, yearning for just one little drop. Earth reminds me that while my lungs still ache for air, my life still aches for living. And in those moments, I know that I am not ready to leave this life just yet, even though the thought may cross our minds and the air may leave our lungs. In the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful, with a pen in my right hand and my heart on my left, I begin with praise, because I know that I am lucky to be alive. I am lucky to still be able to taste even the slightest bit of sweetness in first breaths. Some people on earth died a long time ago. So I begin like breath, like necessity. I begin knowing that to end, I need to start. And my foremothers planted their roots into the soil that I now stand in. And that is my introduction. I breathe. Thank you. So the breathing obviously was intentional, but also I'm really sick. So I'm like kind of like stuffy on my nose. So like if you hear me going, it's because I literally can't breathe as well. Sorry. Okay, so how did you like that? It was a bit serious. It's all right, but... Okay, so this poem's a bit like lighter. It's a bit kind of silly, but also it's like a reminder to myself. Just lift this up a little bit. Just like a reminder to myself and kind of a reminder to everyone, because I feel like sometimes as poets we write and like we kind of write what we think people think we should write. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a reminder to myself. I'm not what you expect. I write rhymes so quick I got that intellect. Been spoken over so many times, most of them incorrect, and when I get loud, all they talk about is that disrespect. See, I was born from holy womb, a strong mother with love, and I try to stay faithful to God above. I'm just a kid from the west side who's got things to say. Born like ride or die, never do things halfway. I mean, how many people like me get the opportunity to speak? I'm not weak, I'm sleek and open to critique. I want to write rhymes forever. It's not easy, you see. I wait in line like, how many more white poets do I got to hear before they get to me? And I try so hard. Like, it's taking so long, I mind my business, but they wait so I can say something wrong. Try to cancel me quick, because I don't stay quiet. I write like it's my mind's version of a riot. When they make it dark, I turn on my own light. Try to find the best in the world, never go down without a fight. Call me lit, I guess. Working woman, working class, work of progress, I'm all original. I make everything that I do in kind of lyrical, but don't ask me for my views, because I see this life through worry. Like, always saying sorry, but staying unapologetic. I'm justice, but the type that's poetic. I've got that epic aesthetic, like Homer. I write ill rhymes like the Iliad. Put finger to mine, then pen to pad, I take it easy. Though I stress like I breathe, and I've got a sharp-ass tongue like I'm armed to the teeth. I go in way too deep, and I don't know how to swim. But catch me first in line for the race, because I'm still eager to win. Does that make me reckless? That I'm willing to jump, never helpless, but born with wings made of the sun. Been on stages for 3 years, and my flight has only just begun. Second born in the first world, direct land is my home. Never been across the ocean, but Lebanon is where my heart roams. I'm scared of the unknown. I search endings to every movie I watch just in case I get attached. To someone who goes and never comes back, I like to know. Doctors call it anxiety. I tell them that I learnt it from the deadbeat dad society. I said I write rhymes so quick, and I don't move quietly. I work myself into a state like I'm my own mind's rivalry. I'm still learning how to love. I swear I'll hold it true in this ode to myself. I swear I'll hold it true. I lost where I'm up to. I'm still learning how to love. I swear I'll hold it true. It'll be difficult, I know, to love myself as well as you. For now I'll learn respect and start something new, because I'm not what you expect. And this I'll hold on to. One more poem, and then I'll leave. Oh, you can talk to me later. They ask me where I'm from, and I struggle to tell them that I am cedar on eucalyptus lands, that I am from the land that will one day consume our bodies 6 feet under. That I am from the land that today consumes me because it makes me wish that I was 6 feet under, that I am transplanted heart in rejecting body. That I wish you knew that I am somebody, that I am a rose in the barrel of an AK-47, and I am inspired. Because I am only ever exotically desired and only ever really required to fill a quota. They ask me where I'm from, and I tell them that I am fully sick. What they don't know is that I am also fully sick and tired of people seeing this hijab, this melanin, this name. I tell them where I'm from, but all I get in response is hipsters trying to claim my tabbouli, my hummus, my falafel. You will gladly swallow up my culture, but spit me out because I make you uncomfortable. Because I am just as Australian as you are and just as immigrant as you are, but you are still uncertain of where I'm from. They ask me where I'm from. And I tell them that my first breath of air was in a hospital room on Eldridge Road in Bankstown, that my foundations are snow-capped Lebanese mountains, but the rest of me is only just Perisher blue. I tell them that my first breath of air should have been Mediterranean Sea, sand and stars, but you pillaged my lands and let politicians conflate our flee from your terror with terrorism. So now I can only see the stars from afar. They tell me it's cloudy because I live in the city. I tell them that I can't see the stars from here because you close my curtains every night. I guess it's really just because I'm not. They ask me where I'm from, and I tell them that I am blessed to live on Darug land, belonging to the Eora nation, still not forgotten for thousands of generations, that I am not a new generation of Australian, that my grandfather carried this country on his back, that my grandmother gave this country her backbone, but you're still convinced that I am not from the country that you claim to own. But I know that the next time someone asks me where I'm from, I'll struggle to tell them, because it's hard for me to comprehend that this land makes me feel so alone, but I somehow still call Australia home. Thank you so much. I'm Layla Mkhayber. Please give a massive, massive round of applause for Alex Cusley.
Thank you. No. Put it up. There we go. Hello. So, I am those white poets Layla was ranting about. Now, I'm not going to start off by saying like what I say is like any different. I'm just saying poets like Layla and the people who follow me like Roje and Andrew, they talk about subjects that, what's the word I'm looking for? Matter. Okay. For example, I'll give you a quick example of the kind of poem I write. I wrote a poem, it's called Sweet Potato Chips. It goes like this. No. Okay, that's sweet potato chips. Okay, so can you hear me? It's all right. Like I sometimes worry because I can't really hear myself when I'm speaking up here. I can be heard, right? Sucks to be you. So I was going to start with the very first poem I actually ever performed in public, and it's poetry in the sense that, you know, like half the art you see in an art gallery is art. And it was sort of based on the fact that I was about 5 years ago probably actually, I was sitting in bed once, and I don't know if like everyone here can relate, but sometimes your mind talks to you. Not literally talks, but it will sort of convince you of certain things. And this is my personification of my mind convincing me of something. Like I was sitting in bed, and then I started hearing my mind go, Alex. But I'm like, screw it. I'm going to just lay down and ignore that, and then suddenly hear Alexander John Eastwood Shushkevich Cusley. Crap, I better listen. It's using the full name. Am I in trouble? And my mind started talking to me. And for the record, the first poem I ever did doesn't actually have an ending. I couldn't think of an ending, so I sort of, every time I perform it, just sort of improvise. And I'm going to see if tonight I can actually come up with a proper ending to it. I mean, I'm optimistic. Are you? Thank you. So my mind started talking to me, and it started going, Alex, wake up. Did you hear that? Did you hear those 3 creaks? In the last minute, there have been 3 creaks in your bedroom. Your death is imminent. You are about to die. You are about to be torn from your body and sent to some spiritual realm. You're off to join the choir invisible. Your spirit is about to be annexed by some darkly other side. The point is, you're not going to survive this night. But, don't think of it too poorly. I mean, hell probably isn't real. I mean, if it is, doubting it exists is in most religions a reason to be sent there, so maybe spirit a little, but it probably isn't real. And you also are very unlikely to be reincarnated as a male praying mantis or a male black widow spider, and there is no reason for your mother to look through your browsing history after you die. And you are going to die. Do not let the fact that you haven't heard a creak since then make you feel safe. Do not let the fact you've been sitting in full view of whatever the hell is in this room make you feel safe. Do not think the fact that your dog is not barking make you feel safe. It is taking its time. Like pork eating, it wants to do you slowly. But I have a plan. I have the best plan in the history of the world. You are going to run to the kitchen. You're going to grab a butcher knife. And you are going to run to the bathroom. And you're going to sit in the corner and hold it out to everyone. Because no one can attack you there. Okay, except of course a four-dimensional being who can attack you from an angle you can't see or even comprehend. But I keep telling you that is not paranoia, that is science. So run. Like a truck at a red light, you keep moving until you get there. Okay, you're there. Be prepared. Your usual tricks won't help you now. Looking down at the floor at your shoes awkwardly and hoping it goes away won't work. Changing your Facebook profile won't work either. Going up, down, left, right, B, A, start, doesn't work in the real world. You're about to fight Cthulhu. Be prepared. Stand in the corner and wait. Wait. You're ready. Okay. So I'm trying to improvise an end to this. So wait, the weight of the world. That could be a callback here. Wait, no, it doesn't work. Okay. What about Jason the Argonaut? You're going to fight off the legions of hell? No. Okay. What about politically? What if you were to do something such as, I'm fighting an invisible enemy and my fears are completely unfounded? That works politically. No, it won't work as a poem. Okay. I got this. Okay, my name's Alex Cusley, and this is the first poem I'm doing tonight. So, anyone here like sweet potato chips? Seriously, tell me. If anyone you're wrong. You're wrong. Here's my poem about sweet potato chips. No. Okay, sweet. So this is the second poem of the night. Totally the second poem after sweet potato chips. There was no poem between that. And I'm going to do something. Layla didn't do it, but I'm going to bring out the iPhone. It's the biggest, what would you call it, accessory to the slam poet. Because I actually wrote another poem which, this is a really crazy, weird thing. I kind of hate myself for writing this poem. Because in a weird way I think it's really disrespectful. But I'm going to say it anyway because it's only 49% I think it's disrespectful. 51% is yeah, fine, whatever. So I'm going to say this. It's not a walkout poem, don't worry. I've had that before. This is about someone I knew when I was in primary school. And it's completely different to the poem that I had before. It's not funny. I mean, no one was laughing at the other poem before, but still. This one's intentionally not funny. So it's called My Friend Died in Primary School. So my friend died in primary school. He died on the Monday, and I was sick on the Tuesday, and coincidentally I was away on the Monday. I was coming home from holidays. I was only at school that week for the Wednesday and the Thursday. I got the day off for the funeral on the Friday, where I ate McDonald's for lunch and played The Sims all afternoon and probably masturbated all night. But at the funeral, 2 kids who never spoke to him cried, but I didn't. My friend died in primary school. He died on the Monday. I was sick on the Tuesday. I ate tuna Monday night, actually, and couldn't eat it for years because I always assumed that was the reason. I was too sick to go to school on the Tuesday, but his ghost was well enough to come to school. And he spoke to my classmates. They were awed, but I missed it. In retrospect, I wish I was there. I would have hugged him, told him I missed, or at the very least asked him, how the hell do you get all the stars in Mario 64? But at the time, I would have just thought, my friend died in primary school. He died on a Monday. I was sick on the Tuesday. And on the Wednesday, everyone was eager to tell me how he died. I'd like to think I was horrified or disgusted or sickened, but I was morbidly curious and wanted to know. I listened to all the descriptions, read all the newspaper articles, watched all the news reports, and combined them all to make the definitive story because my friend died in primary school. He was dead on the Monday. I was sick on the Tuesday, and because both of my parents worked, I stayed at my grandparents' that day, and I overheard my grandmother speaking to my uncle, and she was saying, you should think of all the blood. And at that age, I did. And some days, I still think about that. Sadly, most days, I don't. Okay, so I have one more poem, and I sort of wrote it quite recently, and it's kind of weird because I only wrote it in the last couple of days for no reason in particular, and it was about sort of my grandfather. I don't know what suddenly inspired me to write about him, but I ended up doing it. He died about 8 years ago, 2010. I don't know the exact month, but it would have been 8 years ago, 2010. So I wanted to write this poem about him. We didn't have a blood relation. See, I call you my step-grandfather. I don't know if that's the right term because you were my father's stepfather, and is step-grandfather what you call a stepfather's father? I don't really know, but the point is, you lived on the same street that I grew up on, sort of like in Everybody Loves Raymond. In every episode, he started out by going "Ooh, I live on the same street as my parents." If it was the funniest joke in the world, I'm like, "You're not special, Raymond. Nobody loves you. Why is the show called that?" Oh, it's a joke. I'm stupid. Okay, sorry. I'll get back to this. The point is, you lived on the same street that I grew up with, opposite a huge house that actually kind of looks like a block of units. And the kid who lived there one day was talking to his friend. He said, "That's my house." And the friend was like, "Are you sure that's not a block of flats?" Which is a weird question because it's actually asking, are you actually not mistaken as to the nature of the dwelling you live in? Because maybe there's other people who live there and you're just not allowed in places. And I, even as a 7-year-old, thought that was stupid. But the kid was like, "No, that's my house." Oh, sorry. The point is, you lived on the street I grew up of. And actually, that house I grew up on, it was sort of made of brick, but since then it's been painted up. I presume it's still brick afterwards, but it used to be orange and now it's grey. And one day, I used to mow actually the lawns for the woman who lived there. And then her husband died, and I was mowing the lawn and my lawnmower stopped working. And I said, "Oh, I have to go home and fix this. This lawnmower died on me." And she started crying, and I'm like, "Oh, cue Curb Your Enthusiasm theme." But, sorry. The point is, you lived in the same street as me, and every time you told a story, you couldn't do it without going off on weird, unrelated tangents, and I totally didn't inherit that from you because I am not a blood relative. And you were different to my actual father's father. You see, he worked hard, whereas you worked hard. You worked twice as hard to avoid working hard. And my mother's father was a cop. You hated cops because back in 1939, a cop arrested you for riding your bike without the light on when you only had to have the light on if the sun set. But the sun set actually 10 minutes before the cop arrested you, so they're all corrupt and out to get you. And that's what you were. You were the person who told me to question everything. Sure, this may have become crazy conspiracy theorist grandpa kind of thing, but you always said, "Look, at the other story. And in the grand scheme of things, you'd probably, if you were still alive, you'd ask Alex, how is this even a poem? Poems in my day rhymed and were about women and flowers, to which I reply, But I just want to write something about you because, as I said, we had no blood influence, but you were probably the biggest influence in my life. Roje's next.
Oh, sweet. Yep, can you hear me? There we go. I have a very soft voice, so it wouldn't help if the mic wasn't working. And I have a few poems on my phone. Hopefully, I don't know which one I'm doing, but hopefully you enjoy it. I was born straight out of the madness, from African heat to concrete streets without shoes on my feet, trying to find a remedy with a melody of agony and tears, uncertainty of tomorrow. We, children of a broken world, are not safe in our backyards. 'Cause you see, we are drowning. And this ocean does not have waves like here. It's a furnace of volcanoes, tsunamis, suffocating children forced to carry guns, elders who refuse to run, and widows wailing for lost husbands and hungry sons. I came straight out of the madness, Nakivale. 8 years in a refugee camp, 7 years old, I had to learn to steal. My mother worked like a slave to keep us alive. So I, the alien, have learned to climb mountains of another land. And here now I stand from the madness I grew with a dream to pursue. And if I can rise up, I know you can too. I know the struggle's hard, so follow the sunrise. Madman or genius, you know what the difference is? A genius uses the madness to make magnificence. Thank you. Okay. This one, I'm studying nursing, and I wrote this one for one of the patients that I met there. She inspired this one. I spoke with a cancer patient, 91 years old. She said that she liked my smile, that it brightens up the room. She said I have a good name 'cause I shared it with her husband. Her face lit up as she began to speak of her soulmate, that he was a handsome, gentle gentleman just like me, that he was a brave man, a decorated war veteran with scars to prove it, but the scars shadowing her mind, I can see it, as her mortal flesh sculpted in minerals disintegrates. Questions and concerns began to unwind and flooded my young mind. Like, what is the purpose of life really? Are we just born to live and then die? In this perilous path of beauty and pain, no mercy for child or man. Sometimes I wish I was born a mountain or sea, full of life and wonder, satisfied and constant, never afraid to be dismantled, diminished or finished. She was young and lively like the morning wind. From her stories, I can tell that she was a storm of a woman. But now, so helpless like a child, she can't even recognize parts of herself. I asked her, "Are you afraid of death?" She said, "No." She said, "Sometimes, mostly not." "Do you have any regrets?" She said, "Too many to count." Then I began to sink in my own thoughts. Will the ghosts of regrets illuminate my mind in iron speakers? Will I be satisfied? When I'm 91 years old, my afro gray like Methuselah, will I carry myself in respect? I hope I'll be a complex library like Africa, that my grandchildren can explore this continent vast in knowledge, gathered histories through a lifetime, lessons ready to be a lifeline. I pray that I unlock mysteries with an aim to unlearn predisposed hypocrisies. May I never infect children with my inherited heresy. From today, let me live constructing this story incomplete, broken imperfections into an odyssey of tangible residue for the generations to come. Thank you. This one is a little bit sad. It's a poem that tells the story of how my mom survived the war in Congo while carrying me on her back. It's called "The Lie That Kept Me Alive." Under the golden sun, blood was shed. Some people fled, but still bodies laid under the banana trees and cassava leaves, all deceased. The animosity of humankind displayed, all hope lost. Mom strapped me on her back firmly. If you've ever seen an African mother, you know what I mean. She was escorted by a group of men after they stole whatever they wanted. Blazing machetes and eyes of hatred were the only stars gleaming in that darkness. Too young to remember, but the stories live through this poem. This was my home, a place where love was deeper than the djembe drum and mothers sang 'cause their children smiled. Mountains of green pastures and gallons of milk turned into unending seas of blood. Streets and churches were no longer places to shake hands. They told her to kneel next to the fire. Traumatized, she'd seen how they slaughtered chickens. In her mind, every second was leading to her death. The main leader asked her, "Is that a boy or a girl?" Frightened, she replied, "It's a girl." If she'd said it was a boy, that would have been my last breath. Kasima furiously went back to find more people. She was waiting for death or a miracle. Mom said there was no luxury of guns to finish them off quickly, but agony of knives, machetes, axes, and clubs belted by clenched fists and bulging eyes, eyes of hatred and fear. Matiyana Nzabanita, a man who went to the same church as my mother, mercifully he let us escape. He said, "Stay close to the banana trees and don't walk in the roads." After days of hot nights with blistered feet and mosquito bites, she is lost now. She sees no families or friends, no cows, no green bananas, but terrifying swamps and bushes. In these bushes, she fears no lions or snakes. The only animal she feared was a human one. And I never understand how death or life was decided by the shape of my nose or my height. What makes human beings forget that we're human beings? Thank you. Oh, it's so hot. Yeah. Okay, this one is for, I think I wrote it for my grandparents. It's a really old one. Those ancient stones, grandfathers, grandmothers, old and distant. My eyes are full of tears at the sight of your beauty. This land, my mother, the sweeping sky, my father. Your voice calls out to the obstinate generations. I hear your voice cry out like two distant hills. We are apart, disconnected by a great plain of ignorant hearts. Where do we stand? Why do the elders weep? In this place of tears, no one hears them wail. Is this how we must be? And yet the wind whispers. Do you hear the sound in the night? A distant drum, a call, a voice from the past. I could close my ears and shut my heart, but I choose another path, the one that leads me to your presence. Because love looks like you. My heart still remembers your kind smile and generosity. So please speak your words, tell me your story. Teach me to be an elder. Each step I take with great care, reaching for your call. I knock again with a thirsty soul, seeking your secret knowledge. Are you there? Do not ignore me as those who would turn on you. My heart cries out, feed me. I am weak, be my rock and show me how to stand like you, so wise. I am a child learning how to walk, but I have passion in me. Share with me the things that weigh you down. Let me feel your strength that helps you endure a beating storm. Thank you. Okay, I guess one more poem. This one's all right. Okay, this one is always for my dad. Disturbing my peace, I see ghosts of you in strangers. I miss you, Dad. Growing up, a curious mind, craving wisdom in conversations from a father to a son. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about her. I want to hear the stories from back in the days of you and the boys. Even at the apex of maturity, I'm just a boy, broken and tarnished, seeking your presence and words to embellish me. On dark days, I'm on your sun rays. When I feel destined for the gutters, that's when I need your guidance to stellars. Hold my hand. Searching for your diminishing footsteps to follow, desperate for identity, 'cause my atlas is gone. I lost a man, a lion, a sensei, and they say time heals, but I've lost a part of me. A gorgeous particle, prolific memory surrendered to the soil by loved ones. Father, I was falling, Niagara Falls in my iris, I was bleeding, hoarding storms in my abdomen, border patrol in my esophagus, had to relearn to walk when you passed away. Many a day I tried to run from here and there, in darkness, lost vision, Eden, parish, paradism, but I survived with the living, fighting like Tom Hanks in Castaway. Came out of the furnace victorious like Shadrach. In black and gray, I refused to fray. Fatherless, I found lessons from strangers and men I respect. Correction from the book. So Dad, I hope you're resting well from this scorching sun. Don't worry about your sons, we're blazing like Sun Tzu. In heaven, you can hear about it. Thank you for having me. The next poet is Andrew Cox.
I have bled 1,000 times over for all of you in this room for the last 5 years. For clicks, for foot stomps, but truly for poetry. See, I am not a rhyme writer. I'm not a metaphor maker or a simile creator. I have only ever just bled black-colored blood scratched into notebooks. I was 15 when I thought that I was good at poetry. And now I'm 20, and I'm screaming through microphones what I refuse to write poems about. See, this is not the sound of pretty poetry. This is what art looks like. It's my beating and bleeding heart for all of you in this room, and I'll spit my feelings in the hope that you might feel something, anything, everything, all at once. The beating of your heart, the pumping of your blood, it sounds like music to me. I will stand as an instrument. This has always been for the audience, but please believe me when I say that this is not a performance. I've spent the last 5 years learning that this began and will end as blood on blank pages. But here, I will pin them up on your rib cage. And as you leave this place, may you continue to spread your stories 1,000 times over. May you continue to bleed, for poetry is more than this room. Poetry is more than pretty. Poetry is the reason I'm alive to tell this story. So bleed with me. Burn with me. This world needs your color. I'm starting to call myself an artist more than a writer. I am learning how to take brushstrokes to color honesty inside and outside of my own lines. I am learning that there is so much I'm yet to learn. I am starting to call myself the space between these words. I am starting to call myself by name. Poetry is knowing who you are. And this is the most honest I have ever been in between 15 to 20, and for the first time in my life, I understand what they mean when they say that the point is not the points, but the point is the poetry. Hello, how is everyone? Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for supporting all these incredible poets. Okay, I'm going to move really quickly because I don't have much time, but this next poem is about being half Filipino and half Australian, being half something and never really feeling like anything. Is more than one language spoken in your household? Has always been a question that I found hard to answer, sitting in government documents like a stumbling block and a grey area, so we spoke English in my home. But every morning has begun with gising na anak ka ina. Get up, my son, it's time to eat. But this has always meant more than breakfast. It's you better eat all your rice, even the scoops from the side of the pot slightly burnt, because you are lucky to have anything at all. My mother is the perfect mix of poverty mentality and humility. She is 1 part anger to 4 parts concern, stirred with fear you get. Not being allowed to have cordial, not being allowed to have sleepovers until you're 12 years old, 2 doors down, and having a call before you went to bed. Actually happened. My mother gave me half of everything she is. My best friend growing up said I look like her, but with a nose like my dad. When I say I'm Filipino, I get, well, you don't look like it. I thought you were some kind of islander. And I get it. People are just trying to be nice, but it's hard when they have to know the mystery behind my brown eyes, my black and curly hair, my tall nose and neck beard, my big build, so my clothes don't fit that well. I don't look as good as a white guy does with short back and sides, and I'm not Filipino enough to get a buzz cut. It's being half, it's put by the aunties. It's being half cast like disguised racism. It's being half my mother. It's being half black. It's being half white. It is being a gray area. But it is also the sweetest mangoes you have ever had in your life from the 40-year-old tree in your backyard. It is fresh. Coconuts. It's a 5 minutes walk to the beach. It's 2 minutes if you run. So race me. It's seeing your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents after 5 years. It's crying in the airport after saying that you wouldn't. And in my house on the central coast of New South Wales in Australia, it is a big bowl of pancit on my birthday. Noodles long to represent life. It is a big bowl of pancit. The day we found out my tatarumi had died, waiting for me like my mother who breathed out mabuhay through sobs like it was all she had left. Mabuhay is a gray area. It sometimes means life or a long life. It sometimes means a good life or to be alive. It sometimes means to grow, to become, to thrive. And my story will be mabuhay. My story will not be half caste, half blood, half white. My story will start from my mother's side, mix my father's history. I am well-spoken English sitting in front of a mother's tongue. And my son will have my mother's maiden name, and between his first and last, he will learn that the space between is just as important as where we begin and end. Isaac, my future son, I have dreamed you up since little boys wanted to be policemen and firefighters, and I just wanted to be a father and a good one. If you are to be half of me, I'll do my best to give you all of myself. I will try my hardest to color all the gray areas. I don't want there to be any stumbling blocks. I will hold your hands like it's okay not to be okay. Like it's okay not to fit in. Like it's okay to cry. And every morning he will hear gising na anak, kain na. You better eat all your rice. This is sick. I'm really enjoying hanging out with you guys, so thanks so much for being here. Okay. Sick. I got one more poem. Is that cool? Yeah, I got two more. Cool. All right. So this poem, very recent. Every poem I'm doing today, except for this one, is in a book. It's called The Space Between the Words. If you want it, you can have it. It costs some money. But come talk to me later, and I can even take card. It's cool. I'm a grown-up now. All right. Yeah, it's called breathing exercises. It's about my first ever time having a psychologist session. Breathing exercises were handed to me like Band-Aids, like coping mechanisms, like coping is all I ever will be, silenced so I'm pretty, but I think that there's more to beauty. We have stories. Some of them tell of pain that needed to be felt as if without it, there wouldn't be a story at all, so please feel this. I'm broken. There are parts of me held together with blue tack, like the back of my door, breathing exercises to help me calm down. I have learnt it's okay not to be okay. Taught by the pain that it's all important, it's all a part of the story. I mean, life is complicated. We are broken parts wrapped together with scarred skin. I am fragile. Paper heart, origami wings. I am held together like creases and folds. I still have edges that I'm learning how to shape into beauty. And sometimes my skin doesn't feel like my own. And there is no Band-Aid that's ever going to make it look healed or pretty or quiet like how my voice should sound like. I'm the silence I'm forced to be. And the only thing breathing exercises ever helped me with was questioning what it might feel like to breathe for the last time. If it will be peaceful or painful. Isn't it interesting how holding your breath is almost both of those things? Like how sometimes being peaceful can be painful, like how silence is deafening. Well, my last breath will not sound like a wisp, but the paper will tear and it will be beautiful. I will practice counting my breaths and not the seconds between them. I will not be calm when there is too much to scream about, when our stories are worth more than silence, when there is more to mental health than just mental and health, more than breathing exercises to help me calm down, more than chemical reactions or disconnections, worth more than stigma, bigger than the box you have made for your dogma. Uncomfortable conversations are a luxury. How glamorous. When the leading cause of death in young people is suicide, they are the silence they are forced to be. And if this was painful, I hope that you felt it. It's okay to feel things. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay about this. So stop holding your breath and scream with me. All right, last poem. Keep it going. Yay! Yesterday, I saw what wonder looks like. It existed in the eyes of a little boy looking up at a tree, and he said, "Wow, this tree is bigger than you, Mommy." And his voice sounded like flint hitting a stone, and his sparks made believe him. And each day, I walked past that tree, but for the first time, I looked at it. Ponder a world of childlike wonder, where we didn't get lost in mindless staggers, moving through motions, walking without conviction, speaking without passion, too afraid to feel afraid or feel anything really, going from point A to point B, or poets who spoke in more than A, B, or if A, B wasn't that thing that could sting me, but something that makes honey. That we didn't see the pain of one side, but we saw the sweetness and the beauty of the other, that we didn't see just flora. But we saw a beautiful creation with a planet with a heartbeat beating and bleeding like trees, and taking something that we breathe out that we can't consume and produce something that we breathe in that we need to live. Breathe. Take a big breath. Recognize your lungs in your chest made of bones wrapped in flesh, 4 layers of it intricately working together to create protection to the lungs so we don't bleed internally. But when we bleed externally overnight while resting, cells build up in the open area and create a covering and fall away. When new skin has replaced that gap, this is rad. Get lost in overthinking about little things like scabs. Get lost in wonder. So we are beautiful. We are masterpieces. We are all uniquely created with no person exactly the same, individually made with contrasting personalities. We are the products of the hands that hold the whole world. It doesn't take long to realize that we are not accidents, that you are not an accident. I refuse to believe that, and I refuse to let you think that, because we were created for purpose. Why would we have stories if we weren't meant to tell them? So I'll tell them. I hope I never lose my childlike wonder. I hope I don't stop getting lost in little things like scabs. I hope I don't stop looking at trees and pondering breathing, because wonder, it's a perspective. It's like a glass half full or a glass half empty, or it's like you're living or you're dying. So are you living or are you dying? Breathe with me. Take a big breath. Thanks so much. You can follow me on Instagram if you like, Andrew Cox Poetry. Cool? Welcome, Layla.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for coming to Bankstown Poetry Slam at Sydney Contemporary. If you like what you saw, please come to the Bankstown Poetry Slam. It's on the last Tuesday of every month. The next one is, I think, on the 25th of September. And if you can't make it all the way to Bankstown, we hold a Grand Slam, which is the finale, usually between November and December, and it'll be somewhere in the city. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything. Come see us. I'm Layla. Thank you for coming today.